Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? Happy Saturday. So today I want to make a video about spirits and ghosts, and I want to talk to you guys about that. I don't know how many of you guys are skeptics or how many of you guys actually believe, but I've had paranormal experiences since I was probably about, I would say, 3 years old. But it's an interesting topic where a lot of people aren't comfortable with talking about it, and then some people are comfortable talking about it. So I'm very careful who I tell about ghost experiences. And if you seem like you don't want to be bothered, or if you're like, oh, you're crazy, or you're a skeptic, I'm like, all right, I automatically cut it off. So I'm pretty particular, but I want to share you guys some of my stories. So I've had a lot of ghost experiences, and I'll probably say I had a lot in college. I went to an extremely old Catholic college in Western Pennsylvania. My college is probably about 200 years old, and I remember there was one day where I was with my one friend, and we were coming back from a restaurant. We were way out there, and it was probably the weekend, and we were like, hey, let's just go in the old building and let's go up to the chapel. So we had to get the security guard's permission. And I asked him, I said, hey, is it okay if we go up around the chapel and we look around? So he said, sure. And we went inside of the chapel, and inside of the chapel, there's an extremely creepy Jesus statue that's probably made in about, I think, the 1930s. And the statue is one of three in the entire world. So it's limited, and the artist that made it, they made it extremely realistic. So the statue has wounds in it, it has lacerations, it has scars, and if you look at the eyes look extremely realistic. So when you look at the eyes, it's almost as though the statue is looking right back at you. And it's really freaky, but we went up there and we just automatically locked gaze with the statue. But the thing that's strange is that once you look at the statue, it's almost as if you can't look away. So there was one day where I was looking at the statue. This is separate from that experience, but I was looking at the statue and I was just staring at it, and I'm like, this looks too real. The eyes look too genuine. You could see emotion in the eyes. And I remember I was locking my gaze for a while, and then all of a sudden you see, it's almost like the eyes had a twinkle in them, and then there was a door that I guess it's the door to confession beside the statue, and that door swings open and it hits me in the leg, and I book it out of there. I'm like, I'm done. So that was another experience. But back to the experience that we're talking about. So me and my friends, we go up to the statue and we're looking at it, and then all of a sudden we notice that the statue starts to tear up. It's almost like the statue is crying. So we're like, okay, let's leave the statue and let's go somewhere else. So we leave the chapel, and then we head up to the nursing floor, which that's the third floor of the building. And it's all dark up there, but we all have our iPhone flashlights. So we turn them on, and we're walking down the hallway, and we're just walking, and we're hearing like footsteps, we're hearing breathing, we're hearing voices on the far end of the hallway, and we're like, we're the only ones up here. It's a Sunday. It's the weekend, no one should be here. So automatically we keep walking, and then there's like a stack of papers on the table, and no one had their hands near the table, but all of a sudden all you hear is whoosh. Every single paper flew off the table, and we're like, whoa. And I look at my friend, I'm like, did you touch that? And he's like, no, I didn't touch that. And I'm like, I look at my other friend, I'm like, did you touch that? And she's like, nope, didn't touch that. And I'm like, all right, you guys, I'm like, it's time to go. So we walk back down, and we're just like trying to explain it, trying to see what happened, and there was nothing that can explain it. We're thinking that something up there didn't want us to be up there. It's like, hey guys, it's the weekend, it's after hours, no, you shouldn't be up here. So it's trying to make itself known. That's the story right there. And I want to give you guys a link to the story about the statue and the experiences. I did get a chance to a nun before I graduated. I graduated last year, and she was telling me that basically back in the 1950s that the statue didn't only used to just cry, but the statue used to actually bleed. So they would have to wipe down the statue and wipe down its wounds. And when she told me that, I just looked at her, and I was shocked, but I was also kind of disgusted just to think that a statue would actually bleed. But she was saying that they ended up having someone come in and bless the statue. And I thought to myself, well, you know, the statue is supposed to be holy, but what's really inside of that statue? You know, what's really inhabiting it? So I'm like, I never went near that statue after I found that out. Again, I just kind of looked at it from afar, and I'm still like, okay, I see a statue, but not going near you. Another experience I want to give you guys is recently. So where I live at now, where I'm doing a volunteer service, I remember the first week. This is also an old Catholic building as well, and I live way up at the top in an apartment. And I remember my roommate. I had met him, and I was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "How do you feel about paranormal stuff?" And he was like, "Well," he was like, "if science can't explain it, I don't believe it." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we're living on the Navajo Indian reservation." And I'm like, "There's a lot of stuff that's paranormal related out here," and I looked at him and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, that's cool. And I'm, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, you just wait, man. Like, you're going to experience something. So we're talking about it and I'm telling him my stories. And he's just kind of giving me this look like, yeah, man, you're full of shit. So, anyways, maybe about a week later, I remember I was sitting at the table and I was just on Snapchat, Snapchatting people. And I hear my roommate coming down the hallway and he's like, Ronnie. He's like, hold up, wait, man. He's like, I gotta talk to you. And I'm like, what's up? And he's just like, he had an experience last night. And I'm like, what happened to you? So he said that he was basically sleeping in his bed. And he said that it was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. And it was just like something, he felt like something was in his room. He felt a presence. And he said that he woke up and all of a sudden he looks at his covers and he just sees them rising up. And he's kind of like, he's still waking up and he's looking and he's like, what's going on? And all of a sudden he said that he feels this hand come up under the covers and like just grab his knee. And he says that he jumps up, right? And then he puts his hand where he feels it at, and then he feels another hand on top of his hand. He jumps out of bed and he's like, whoa. And then he gets up and he turns on all his lights, nothing in there. No one playing a prank, nothing. And he's just like, he was freaked out. And he looked at me and I'm like, just looking at him and I'm nodding my head like, yep. Like, do you believe now? And he's like, maybe. He just automatically, he starts trying to explain how it can be something outside of something paranormal. He's like, maybe, maybe I just hit it so hard that I felt like it was something else. Or he's like, maybe, I was just kind of hallucinating. And I'm like, the way you just described the story to me, it doesn't sound like you were hallucinating. The way that you remembered it, piece by piece, there's no way that you were hallucinating. So he basically looked at me and he's just like, yeah, well, I just want to share it with you. I'm like, thank you for sharing that with me. And I'm like, do you believe yet? Or he's like, yeah, yes and no. So eventually over time, he had more experiences. That was when we first got here. So that was maybe about 9 months ago. And he's had countless experiences since then. So now he's a believer and he has respect for spirits and he understands. And I'm just like, it's amazing when you meet someone and they don't believe, and then after they have numerous experiences, they're able to say and see, okay, there is something out there that is spiritual. There is something out there that we can't necessarily see, and there are forces that are out there. And I'm like, wow. So basically, I remember I just saged our apartment down, which is basically like a Native American ritual in different tribes. And I saged it, I prayed over it, and just set good intentions. And I'm like, man, sometimes I'll hear things. And there's another time where I was in the bathroom one night and I heard a voice and I was sitting on the stall and it's just, all of a sudden all you hear is Ronnie. And I know no one's in there. If my roommates are in the bathroom, you can hear them coming. I could hear them walking in. It was midnight. I was the only one in the bathroom. And I'm like, yep. I was freaked out, but I wasn't scared. And I'm just like, as soon as I got finished, I'm like, I'm out of here. Went to my room, locked my door. That's another thing. Ever since I've been in this building, I sleep with my door locked every single night. I don't trust it. I feel like there's a time where I'm going to wake up. If I don't lock my door's going to be open. And it's just like, I don't want anything having access. But those are some scary stories for you guys. I'm going to give you one more. Let's see. Okay, there was one day where me and my coworker were at work. And we used to do like telecounseling, so we would recruit for admissions. We would recruit prospective students, and it was late. We would probably work from about 5 to 9, so it will be probably 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, it will be dark. And then again, we were up in that old Catholic building that I was telling you about in my college. So this really old building, 200 years old, and all this history. And I remember it was maybe 3 of us that night for that shift. It was me, my one coworker, and then it was our boss. And we're all sitting there. And then all of a sudden, I remember looking at my boss, and I'm like, something's not right. So I'm looking at my boss, and then I look up, and all of a sudden, there's a cup that sits on my desk, and the cup starts rising. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, why is this cup rising? So I'm looking, and then I turn around to see if it's just me that's seeing this. I look at my coworker. her mouth is wide open, like, what the fuck is going on right now? So I turn around and I'm looking at my coworker watching the cup rise up. And then I look at my boss in the corner and she's staring at the cup intensely, almost as though she was doing it. And then I'm still looking at my coworker's eyes and I'm looking at the cup and the cup is rising up. Then the cup flies over to the other corner of the room. And then my coworker screams and says, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Is it just me or did you just see that?" She's like, "Yes, I just saw that." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, "This is crazy." And I look at my boss and I'm like, "Did you just see that?" And she's like, "What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about?" And I'm like, "You didn't just see that cup lift up and fly across the room?" And she's like, "No, I have no idea what you're talking about." And me and my coworker saw it and she agreed and she said, "That's crazy." And she's like, "What do you think that was?" And I said, "I don't know." Later on, I texted her and then we met up, and we always got weird vibes from our boss. Our boss was always kind of weird. We got negative intentions, negative vibes towards her, and it's just something that didn't seem right about her. And we were all three looking at it, and we were saying how the way that she was concentrating on it, it almost seems as though she was doing it. So I can't explain that. I don't know if she was into something dark. I don't know if she was practicing. I don't know what she was doing, but you can ask my friend. I can make a video with her one day and we could both talk about that experience, and she will tell you that story in the exact same way that I told you. But those are my stories, guys. I just want to touch on that topic. Spirits, ghosts, that's something that I experience, that I have experienced with a lot, and I meet other people that also experience it, and I think that it's interesting when you meet a skeptic and they have their experiences and they're no longer skeptics. So if you guys have any stories, let me know. If you want to hear more about ghost stories, paranormal experiences, or I even have stories about where I've had run-ins with things, skinwalkers, that's Native American, different tribes. If you guys want to know, let me know, and leave your comments down below. Subscribe, like. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.